How you doing? This is Ed Gray, Commish Radio Show. You know, as I've often said, this radio show is loved by many, hated by a few, respected by all. We're second to none, second to none. And you know what? This is a very exciting time of the year. And you probably heard the open mic when I said we're going to need some juice on this one. We are going to need some juice on this one because, hey, we got to get juiced up. Elections is right around the corner. Elections are right around the corner. That's right. February 14th. All of these politicians have been coming through this week talking about, hey, show me some love. But I've been saying, fall in love with democracy. Fall in love with democracy. February 14th. While you're out getting those last minute cards and, you know, those gift cards, those gifts, those flowers, go and sneak off and, you know, go ahead and get a couple of votes in as well. You know, a couple of votes for your favorite public servants. And right now, I have one of my favorite public servants here with me as well. Judge Paula Rosales, how you doing?
How are you, Mr. Gray?
I'm doing fine, doing fine. Come on up to the mic a little bit.
It's been a while.
It has been a little while. Last time we talked, there wasn't a pandemic.
There was not.
There was not.
No, that was, well, when we talked in this setting,
right.
It was about 3.5 years ago.
3.5 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you're right. That was 3.5 years ago. And then we also met at...
We were both supporting the It's Going to Be Okay gala, that wonderful nonprofit organization that whose goal is to eradicate human trafficking in DFW. We were supporting Ms. Stafford that evening at the Omni Hotel.
Omni Hotel. Yes. Omni Hotel.
Yes.
And it's been... how long have you been elected now? That's been a little while, but how long have you been elected?
I've fully completed my third year and 3 months.
Third year and 3 months.
I'm going on my third month. So 3 years and almost 3 months. Does that sound right?
Yeah, it's about right. It's about right. And I've known you now for about maybe four years or so.
Yeah, I think the first time we met was at SMU. Southern Methodist University's, I cannot, it was McFarland Auditorium.
Right.
And we were going to hear Mr. Stevenson.
Brian Stevenson,
yes.
And Lee Merritt introduced us.
Either it was it Mr. Merritt?
Yeah, it was Lee Merritt.
Or was it Ms. Gibson?
Both of them were there. Y'all were both walking through together. All three of y'all were walking through together. Diane Gibson.
Has Mr. Merritt been here already?
Not this cycle. Not this cycle. But yeah, Lee Merritt. And you know that's a wild thing because we're talking about Lee Merritt now is running for Attorney General. And Brian Stevenson has the Dallas County Justice Initiative, and I'm the leader of that here in town. So,
okay, we need to talk more about that.
Well, hey, but this is about you. It's not about me. This is about you. So what do you, we can talk about that because, you know, I'm always.
Well, so I want to go to his museum.
Right.
His museum is in Alabama.
Right.
One of my best friends, Bobby, he was my mentor at the DA's office. He's originally from South Carolina. Was able to go before the pandemic with his family. Very moving. I did see the Oprah interview. Stevenson. Everything he does it to perfection. One of the impactful things for me was the collection of
soil sample.
Yes.
Right, because we collected the soil sample of Alan Brooks, who was lynched in downtown Dallas. So we have a couple more soil samples to collect as well. But I know you're not collecting soil. You're trying to collect votes.
I am I'm hoping to collect votes. Yes, every vote that wants to push for Paula, I'm wanting to earn.
So what are you running for?
I'm running for re-election of County Court at Law Number 4. Mm-hmm. It is one of the civil courts at the George Allen Courthouse, one of the 5 county courts. Mine happens to be number 4.
So why are they, well, yours happen to be number 4, so which gives a question, they just randomly pick someone like 1, 2, 3, 4?
My understanding is yes. So you've got statutory courts and constitutional county courts. And the commissioners essentially had, for Dallas County, the opportunity to create county court. And number 1 was the first one created, and when they realized that more courts, or that number 1 didn't fulfill all of the responsibilities that were needed, they decided to add another bench and so on and so forth. So my court has had before me, I believe, 5 additional judges. I am the first woman to sit on this court.
The first woman to sit in this court?
Yes.
And before we go into your court, let me ask you this question. Why, and this is what I ask all judges, why did you decide to become a lawyer?
A lawyer.
Because
well,
first, before you become a judge, you have to
yes.
be a lawyer.
No, I have to think back, but
Yeah.
First and foremost, really was I wanted to fall into my parents' footsteps, and I grew up around 2 human rights advocates and 2 lawyers, and Dad is actually a Canadian lawyer, and so he would take me to the courthouse with him, and in Canada, lawyers still wear a robe. They wear a robe, and they wear that little I cannot remember at this time what it's called, but it's like a little tie, and it's actually very honorable to be able to wear the tie. So unless you are they actually are called masters in law. So my father was Maître Rosales, which meant Master Rosales, because each attorney is referred by that honorable title. And of course, judges, what they wear is they wear, it's kind of like the Catholic deacons. They'll wear the red wrap in addition to the white bow tie or tie. And so one thing that was pretty funny is when you see Canadian attorneys argue, they have to really be careful with how they move their hands, because they kind of start looking like Batman a little bit. And so it's when they're doing mock trials, one thing they'll remark is, stop moving like a penguin. Mm-hmm. So I remember those sort of things, and it's actually very interesting when you go to a Canadian city. Go by the courthouse and look at how lawyers walk around with their robes. In the United States, well, only the judge wears a robe.
But in Canada, the attorneys
do, yes, and it's just a different type of practice. They do not have jury trials on, at least where he practiced, which is Quebec. So it's the French province. Mm-hmm. They have 2 types of jury trials, and really they're mainly criminal jury trials. Most of commercial transactions, intellectual property, trademark issues, those will actually be more of a Napoleonic style, much like France. So a lot of writing happening for their advocacy.
Now, before we get to you're talking a lot about your father. Let me ask you this. How many languages does your father speak? Since he's in Quebec.
Well, he speaks 2.
2.
His English is so-so.
But it's, okay.
Yes, and he also speaks a little bit of Mayan Quiche, because he worked with the Mayan communities in Guatemala.
And does he speak French since he's been?
And he speaks French, yes.
Okay, you left that one out. That was the most obvious one. And obviously English. So
and Spanish.
And Spanish. So it's like
yes.
4 or 5 languages. So why you playing them off like that then? You speak 4 or 5 different languages. You're like, hey.
Now, let me just say 3.
3?
Yes.
3.
Yes.
Okay. All right. 3 languages. Okay. And where were you born at?
I was born in Guatemala City. Parents, through their human rights work, traveled and had to take care of business outside of Guatemala. So I've lived in Mexico City. I was raised in Montreal. Graduated from French International High School in Guatemala City, and had the great opportunity to, once graduated high school, to come and study here in Texas.
And how many languages do you speak?
I speak 3 languages.
3?
Yes.
As well.
Yes.
See, I'm not a lawyer, but you see how I was leading you with that. Yeah, I was asking those questions like that. So we got to the part about why you want to be a lawyer, which is very important. You come highly recommended. throughout the community as well. Tell me about some of the people who have endorsed you in this campaign.
Well, so honored and really proud to have earned support of giants of our community. Congresswoman Nettie Bernice Johnson, the longest serving congresswoman, the first woman, African American woman, be our Congress, a representative in Congress, and just a trailblazer on so many levels. State Senator Royce West, who has been fighting for us in Austin and really in so many causes, and also the Price, Commissioner John Wiley Price, who wrote me a wonderful letter back in October of 2021, really just encouraging my efforts.
2021?
Yes, 4 months ago.
4 months ago? He wrote a letter?
He wrote me a letter.
He wrote you a personal letter?
He signed his very nice signature to the letter. Yes, it was a personal letter, thanking me for answering the call of service, and then also having watched how I run my court and having watched how I have performed in my court, and that he had no reservation with supporting me in any way.
Now, this was a personal letter.
Yes,
personal. Well, that's not very uncommon that people write personal letters like that. It's like you call somebody up, they say, "Yeah, I support you," but just a letter like that is.
It was quite a surprise for me to receive.
Right, I will be surprised by that as well. So you are running as a Democrat. You mentioned all of the Democrats in here. Part of your qualifications, if you will, is on your push card, is your 2012 national delegate to the Democratic National Convention. Tell me about your experiences on that.
Oh, that was incredible. So this was President Obama's reelection cycle, and of course, before you become a national delegate, you must be a state delegate, and that through my state's delegation experience, I met. For the first time, Julian Castro, who ended up at some point serving under President Obama's administration as his Secretary of Housing and Housing Development, and who was also the mayor of San Antonio. I also, if my memory serves me right, that was the first time I kind of got to interact with Representative Nicole Collier in Fort Worth. Representative Anchia here, and whose support I have here, Rafael Anchia, and lots of great Democrats from our great clubs who are still involved. In fact, one of my colleagues, Judge Melissa Bellin, was also a delegate. So that's how far we go in that sense. But the experience was a wide opening one. Having so many Democrats in one place is just quite amazing. Lots of caucuses, lots of committees that are being organized. So a lot of Democratic Party business is being handled at the same time that the convention happens. And you do get to sign up to be part of certain caucuses.
So which one were you part of?
Well, for the state convention, I was not part of any. I was wanting to kind of see which ones they had open. And by the way, I was quite young when I got to do this, so I was really just trying to see where I could have a best fit. But for the DNC in Charlotte, I was able to go into the women's caucus, which Michelle Obama came to speak, and that was pretty incredible. I did not get a photo with her.
What did you think of First Lady Obama?
Oh my goodness, what a force! Just so in touch with the true needs of our communities, and really a problem solver. I wish that all of us who were hoping that she would at some point decide to maybe run for a national office.
You would want her to run for national office?
Would you not? But she. I mean, and I also followed her podcast. And she's explained why she would not do it. Mm-hmm. I mean, it took huge toll on the the family, and just it was the national stage was absolutely what they were prepared for, but you don't get to spend that much time with your family, and they try to make it happen, and I think they did an excellent job having her mom live with them at the White House, taking care of the daughters, the first daughters, but I mean, a call to being a public servant, unless you've gone through the motions, may seem like being something as very glamorous, and it's a lot of hard work. So I just cannot imagine. The national level is just a different world.
Okay, so it is. Clearly it is. And since the last time that we talked, you being elected, and explain to our people at home, what does it feel like to be a candidate? I mean, how many? I'd ask, as Angelo has heard me say all week long, how many hours of sleep does a candidate get?
So that's a great question. I think sleep hygiene is so necessary for all of us.
Right.
I also have almost an 8-month-old at home, our miracle baby. And so I have to tend to him.
Why would you say your baby's a miracle baby? They're all miracles, but why would you say?
Well, because we waited for him for so many years, my husband and I, and God helped us.
It's a miracle.
He is a miracle. I mean, every life is a miracle. His name is Isaac.
Isaac.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes,
and he's 8 months.
He's going to be.
8 months. Oh, see, you're at that age now where every day counts. It's like 8 months.
Yes.
9 months, 4.5 years old.
Yeah, and then they'll tell you I'm 3 and 5 days.
Right. The only people do that are people that are young. That's the only people that really do that. Yeah, really.
They can't wait to be.
They can't wait.
4 and then 5.
Right.
So in terms of sleeping, we try to get as much as possible. Thankfully, if I'm tired and I'm through with all of my responsibilities, I will crash. But then it's the matter of like having the alarm wake you up, etc. So I mean, I guess 5 hours a day.
And we've talked and been late, and you say, "Well, forgive me, I have to bail out because I have an 8-month-old,
yes.
and I need to take care of business." That's not a problem.
Yes.
It's not a problem at all.
So keep hydrated. That's the number one thing. If I and skipping meals is a really big challenge. Because if you skip meals, of course, you don't have the energy to keep you going, and you can't think clearly when you're, having a meaningful conversation with constituents and with community leaders. But drink lots of water, eat well. If you can't really eat, have snacks in the car. I mean, this is my rule is always you cannot eat in the car. But if you're campaigning, you will eat in the car. Yes.
Eat in the car. But you know what? We're going to come right back after these breaks. We're going to play a couple of drops, and we're going to do some housekeeping chores here as well because you know what? One of the things that we've been doing during this campaign, we have been checking the emails like every 5 minutes, and I'm trying to go over to my phone, but I don't want you guys to see me do it. So when we come back, can you handle this? We've been we're promoting Janelle Gray's CD. That's my daughter's CD. We've been promoting that. So, hey, we're going to make it look good. Angelo, let's make it look good. And, hey, let's see what happens next, all right?
Is it your...
This is Marquise Hawkins, candidate for House District 100, and you're listening to The Commish Radio with Ed Gray.
Who was that masked man? You mean you don't know? That was no masked man. That was the Commish. Saturdays from 5 to 6 p.m. on the Fishbowl Radio Network. Making It Look Good. And you can pick up the latest, this is now a commemorative edition of Janelle Gray's Make It Look Good. And that been, you see how I did that? I segued in and I said, Angelo, we got to make it look good. So that's the way he knows to do that. You know, you guys think, it's like, wow, that was pretty clever. It's like signs, you know. Hey, it's like, you know, audible. I do this. Hey, he knows to do that. So what do you think of that? Make it look good. Make it look good. What do you think
Great. Absolutely. No, it's, I was just looking at, she's the executive producer and then also the main singer. This is...
Yeah, her mom is in that as well, and her sister's in that as well, you know. That's one way to make sure you keep it in the family. She's also performing at AT&T Performing Arts Center.
Goodness.
Oh, no, her play will be performing Rage. She writes plays and stuff. But,
well, I mean, it's frankly one of the things that I do miss about, just, I guess the pandemic, or I don't know what it is. I have not purchased new music in a long time. So, the music that I listen to is like what I used to listen to a long time ago.
Well,
so for a second, I thought it was Christina Aguilera for a second, and then I had to ask you, is this Janelle?
yeah, that's it. You know, that's why me and Angelo get along so well, because we have the same music taste. So he likes to listen to old stuff as well. So that's what he does. But, what is not old is the fact that we have issues in our community regarding homelessness. And, that is one of the issues that's been around for years and years. And we see that very clearly when we take drives downtown and we see the homeless underneath bridges. Mm-hmm. You've been a speaker for the Dallas Bar Association's Judiciary and Aid for the Homeless Committee. What is that about?
So this is a group of young attorneys who volunteer in areas that will help the homeless. And most recently, of course, we experienced the effects of COVID as a pandemic, and thankfully there were the powers that be, the authorities that are able to create legislation or rules and laws that judges have to follow. There were moratoriums that were created, and as a result of these moratoriums, a lot of the evictions that Dallas County and really nationwide, I know we've all heard about what was happening during the pandemic, like the midst of the pandemic. I mean, we're talking March 2020 through probably December 2020. These were, very important times, very important dates where we didn't know, I don't know if you remember, but going to the grocery store was like you had to put a mask and you had to put gloves and a shield, and we just didn't know how deadly this virus really is, because it is deadly.
Lysol
your shoes, Lysol your hands. I mean, Lysol everything. The boxes, disinfecting. I mean, my hands were peeling. I put so much gel to make sure that it didn't, contaminate whatever.
Where I was working at, they had some kind of. It peeled off my skin.
It was, yes.
It was alcohol.
Yes.
Really, that's what it was. It was the first levels of stuff they put out. I was like, well, you got to be kidding.
I mean, I think as a result of it, I still have some remaining, like, very sensitive skin that I have to keep putting moisturizing Aquaphor on it because my skin will peel. It's just been, it's an imbalance, I guess, but created by this gel that we're all having to use. And so I'm wanting to talk about that because we all experienced it at different levels. Our anxiety levels or our stress levels, depending on where you were working. Our frontline workers had to be there in person no matter what.
Okay, let's talk about that anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
This is a question that people who are frontline workers, people who have to be at work.
Mm-hmm.
Since I retired, I wasn't retired then, but I had to be physically at work. Some people could do that job at home,
Yes.
which I thought was like, wow, you're doing it at home, and you're calling me, telling me about stuff when I know probably more than likely you're not really working. But that's beside the point. I can say that. I'm retired, baby. You can't do nothing to me. So that being said, I said it when I was working anyway, so it really didn't matter. So how else did the pandemic affect it? Because it seemed like there's the pandemic, it seemed that more people were contracting it in the jail system.
Yes, so that was also of concern. And living in an enclosed space, and we know that it is airborne transmitted. And so, and if you're not able to do social distance,
how can you social distance?
How can you social distance? And thankfully, our criminal court judges recognize that. And, I believe that a lot of PR bonds, the personal recognizance bonds, were being issued in lieu of actually posting monetary bonds so that you would not continue to add more individuals into a confined space. I am not necessarily familiar with the numbers that the jail was dealing with, but it was alarming. I had on a case. An attorney wanted me to subpoena a witness who had disregarded several El Paso judge subpoenas to appear and testify. And one of the recourses that trial courts have is to find someone in contempt. And if it's a court-issued order and you don't follow that order, even if you are a civil judge and you find someone in contempt, you can order them to spend some time in jail until they are ready to comply with a court order, a legally issued court order. Well, I wasn't going to do that. Add an additional person in a confined space. And so we had to work around that necessity. Yes, it is true this individual had information that would be valid for a certain case, but I had to make a decision and say, we're going to have to wait for a lot longer before you're going to ask me to confine someone because they didn't show up for a deposition. We did not stop working. So as soon as the stay-at-home orders were issued in Dallas County, as judges, we were quite alarmed. We needed to know, how do we continue to open or have the doors open, the justice doors open for the public without compromising their public safety. And it took us a little long, to understand whether it was going to be a Zoom platform, a Teams, Microsoft Teams platform. We have one that's called Court Call, that is the one that the county provides.
So explain to me about that one, Court Call.
Court Call had been typically used by family courts on my understanding is, child custody issues or issues where the parents may not have been able to be there in person for some testimony. And what you do, it's a proprietary program or forum that the county has purchased for the county courts. And it's a secure program, so a lot more protected than Zoom might be.
So nobody can just
you cannot hack.
Come hack it.
Yes, or have bots or folks who come in and become hecklers over the proceedings. And it's a little tedious in the sense that you have to call the court call representative. You are issued an individual ID number, and then you have to dial in. But it was quite secure, and so it took about 3 weeks for my staff and everyone to get ready to do a virtual courtroom. But we made it happen. And we've been so successful with the virtual hearings that attorneys are just wanting for us to continue with the virtual hearings.
So you think this is going to continue now?
Yes, it will. Not the jury trials. The jury trials have to be done in person. Otherwise, our resources are tapped to the extreme. To conduct one jury trial virtual, I think takes about 10 staff members to make all that happen. I mean, you're talking about giving jurors individual computers that are issued by the courts.
Oh, so they have computers.
They would have to give computers to them that are proprietary to the court. They don't get to keep them, and they don't get to use their
So
own
what's
system.
on the computer? I mean, obviously Facebook isn't on the computer.
No, it would just be strictly a computer that has nothing but a Zoom app and potentially, a Microsoft Word app. But the computers, there was one court that tried to do a jury trial via virtual, and they had to have the fire marshals deliver these computers to each individual juror at their home.
So that explains how. And that was one of the questions I asked earlier about how is COVID affect. So we see COVID changing things, like things going back to normal. It will never be back to normal the way it once was.
No, and sometimes for the good. One thing that is extremely important to highlight is that a virtual courtroom has given self-represented litigants, so folks who don't have attorneys, an opportunity to join in virtually. Oftentimes, we all have a different job or different family responsibilities, and if you have to take off and your boss doesn't give you permission or whatever, you don't have the proper schedule to plan around your court hearing, then you're just gonna not show up. And if you're the defendant in a consumer debt issue and you don't show up, there's going to be a default judgment entered against you. And now you're going to have to deal with a creditor who holds a judgment against you. And that judgment can be renewed in perpetuity, essentially, until you pay that debt. And that debt will accrue with high interest. Whereas if you had appeared, then you say, well, judge, you know what, maybe, yes, it is me. I this and this happened. It's not an excuse, but I am the owner of this credit card and I want to pay it. Well, then the creditor sees that there is good faith effort, and then they can offline talk about different terms on how to dispose of that debt, either in payment plans or reducing any late fees that had already racked up, because of course they get to have their debt paid. And then on the other hand, the debtor sees a path to being debt-free.
Okay. Now, what else does your court specifically deal with?
So we deal anything that the civil district courts deal with, anything from personal injury cases, from the smallest slip and fall at a grocery store to a car accident to 18-wheeler
So you're the
accidents.
person who really determines how much does a slip, trip, and fall actually get?
No, the jury will do that.
Okay. Like the joke say, you know how much you can get for a slip, trip, and fall on that? So the jury does that. The jury does that.
Yes. The jury is the trier of fact. They judge the facts of the case. What it really means is they judge the credibility. So you really need 6 or 12 people or community members to listen, to look at the witnesses.
Okay. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to go with a closing. But we got to go ahead and take a quick break, and when we come back, we will conclude with Judge Paula Rosales, okay?
To represent Irving and Grand Prairie in the state legislature. Just came off from appearing on the Commish radio show, and I encourage everyone who wants to know what's going on, especially in politics in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, to listen to the Commish radio show on the Fishbowl Radio Network.
Hello, this is Arlington Councilmember Robert Rivera. Whenever I'd like to know what's happening here in our city, learn more about Arlington politics, I tune in and listen to the Commish radio show every Saturday from 3 to 5 here on the Fishbowl Radio Network.
Back again. We were just talking during the break about good clock management and about good management in the court system. So that being said, we were closing up about how things are not going to be the same and how things can possibly, change for the better. And
Yes.
one of the things could change for the better. We can keep things the same, I guess, in some ways. I guess we could re-elect you then, right?
That's right. Over the past 3 years, I have worked vigilantly to make my courtroom more equitable, more fair to everyone, regardless of their financial situation, their English speaking abilities, whether or not they have attorneys. And I think that if you come into my court, you will feel welcomed. You will feel that you have been heard. And if the decision didn't go the way you expected, you'll understand. You'll have a understanding as to why the decision was made the way it was. And I read everything that comes before me. I am prepared for the hearings. I'm prepared for the trials. Very proud of the work that I've done. And at this time, I'm asking for your support because I am running against an individual who, last minute, 10 days before the filing deadline, decided to jump in our Democratic primary. Her record is 100% Republican.
So that's why you have, I'm running against a lifelong Republican in a Democratic primary.
That's correct.
That's it? You have that flyer right there?
Which one?
This one?
Yep.
Okay, let's put that one up. Yeah, so explaining again, you're running against a lifelong Republican in the Democratic primary.
That's correct. So we've had almost 2 months of campaigning, and till this day, there has not been any articulation of any fact as to why I am being challenged by my opponent, other than a insurance insider individual recruited her to run against me, and that is why she has targeted me to this bench. And we're doing forums every day. I had one this morning. I even, in fact, I was at a wonderful breakfast meeting precinct chairs, and I met one of her friends. And when I explained to her, she didn't know the backstory. She didn't know that my opponent had been recruited to run against me. Her filing fee was paid to run against me specifically, not because I didn't do my work, not because I'm not a fair judge, but simply because it is me who is sitting on that bench. And her friend tried to justify, why maybe, but there was absolutely no articulation as to, because you're not a good judge, you're not a fair judge, you're not doing your job. Nothing of that sort, Mr. Gray. And so I do find it a bit offensive because, I've mentored 10 law school students since I have gained this bench. I not only give them very hands-on experience on the bench to show them that, trying a case, there's no secret. A lot of mentors are fantastic and they're amazing. And then there are mentors that will hide the ball. They're not going to really show you how to do certain things. And what I wanted them to know is there's not a magic formula. If you really want to be a trial attorney, come watch trials. And if you're my intern, I'm going to show you every step of the way on how you can become a great trial attorney. But that's not where my internship stops. I also go outside of the community, or outside of the courtroom into the community. I go to West Dallas. I was a West Dallas Community Court judge there. I take them to meet with the Kingbridge community, the tenant association there. The children and the elderly there, we do some programming. I take them to meet with historians. I have the great, amazing privilege, really, to take them to social justice churches so that they can hear not only the word being preached, but really also the need that our communities have for more equality, for more respect, and for more representation. Because when you become an attorney, you, if you want, can live in a bubble. But we don't want attorneys who live in a bubble. If you have the opportunity to be the voice for someone, you need to know where you're going to spend your time either volunteering or representing. And I also give them a book. One of my most trusted historians is Dr. Reverend Michael Waters. He wrote a book, Stakes is High, and I have the privilege of being able to give them a signed copy of that book so that they understand the history of Dallas, what it's taken the community to be here today through, I don't want to give the book away, but really all of the suffering that community has gone through up until today, and that you really need to know. You were mentioning there was a soil being collected right in front of the George Allen Courthouse of a lynching happening there. And, Dallas is one of the fastest growing cities in the world. But guess what? It is also number 2 in childhood poverty. Dallas can be, a very, attractive city for folks who are finding employment opportunities here, but there's a long history of disparities and a long history of really division. And if my interns are going to come and want to benefit from what I can show them in the courtroom, I also demand of them when I interview them that they commit themselves to improving all of our communities, to work towards making the world a better place, and to sign up for progressive projects. And that is my commitment to them. That is my commitment to the community, that if I'm going to bring in a law school student to intern for me, it's not just to follow me around, in the courtroom. I don't gain anything from that. It really is to develop them as individuals, because they're bright and they're young and they will be our future.
All right. And the future now is March 1st, right?
The future now is March 1st. That is our election day. But please, Valentine's Day, as you said, Mr. Gray, show all of us some love. And February 14th through February 25th, 2 days of early voting. That is when you can push for Paula at the polls.
Push for Paula.
Push for Paula.
Push for Paula at the polls. And, as we get ready to go to a closing, and we're going to put up those 2 flyers as well, I want to say right now, thank you for tuning in to the first hour of the Commish Radio Show. And we appear to be doing this now daily now. It seems like you've asked for it. It's specifically during this campaign season. We're going to be doing this daily. But, we want you to fall in love with democracy. Fall in love with democracy on February 14th. February 14th through February 25th. Keep falling in love. If you didn't fall in love on the 14th, try it on the 15th. So forth and so on, then on the 25th. And then, March 1st is the actual date of the primary election day. That's the actual date. And keep in mind that when you're going to the polls, that the simple thing in Texas now of giving somebody some water can be a crime. That's right, it can be a crime. It can be a crime. They want to charge you up on it. But we're not going to play that. We're going to make it look good. We're all in for Judge Paula Rosales. That's the flyer we're going to put up. And, hey, we'll see you guys later on the Commish Radio Show. Hour 2 coming up.
Who was that masked man? You mean you don't know? That was no masked man. That was the Commish. Saturdays from 5 to 6 p.m. on the Fishbowl Radio Network. Hey, how you doing? This is Ed Gray of the Commish Radio Show. Stay tuned and tune in and be up to speed on everything in social justice, human rights, and politics on the Commish Radio Show, airing every Saturday, 5 p.m. on the Fishbowl Radio Network.
Jump in.